Hey everyone. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit different of a video. I've just finished chapter 4. So if you're just catching up, we're reading this book. Some questions to consider about you. And this is the first chapter where I've been asked to do something and I have not yet done the work, so we are going to do it together. I have a little notebook here, so I'm going to do that in a second, but I wanted to talk a little bit. The author, Nicole, asks me to ask some questions of myself. The way she talks about it is like, let's start off on the best foot possible. Like, we could jump straight into the work, but this is, in her mind, some pre-work for us to kind of get the ball rolling, I guess. I don't know if that's the best way to think about it, but that's how I'm going to think about it. What kind of excuses do you regularly make for yourself? What behaviors do you perpetuate that might alleviate your stress and make you feel better in the moment? What kind of diversions do you attempt when you're uneasy or trying to manage big feelings like worry, regret, or fear? Those are her big questions. So then she gives us this direction: grab a piece of paper and list all of the things you do to avoid feelings of discomfort or lack of control. Think about what you do when life gets to be too much and write this down. She gives lots of examples throughout this chapter, but I don't know if that's going to be helpful for me because I want to fully engage in this. So I'm going to start writing my list. I'm going to fast forward this for you guys, but I just thought as I was reading the chapter, let me go ahead and do the work part on camera. I don't know how much I'm going to share, but we'll just kind of see as we get into it. Okay, so I have a list of 5 things that I wrote down. Looking at my list, I think I'm like comfortable sharing all of these things. If I get deeper later on with anything that I don't want to share, I won't share it. But my number one thing, and my husband and I, this is like a joint, not problem, but avoidance tactic, let's say, is travel planning. If we're really stressed about our current situation, life has just been too much, we love to plan a trip. We don't necessarily take that trip or like actually like plan it to completion, but we'll start looking up flights, we'll start thinking about destinations, and I think that's a big one for us actually. I don't know if that's normal, if everyone does that, but if we are like, life is too much, let's go avoid it. I should say that actual travel also can fall under this category for us, but it's much more like few and far between. Obviously, we can't travel every time we get stressed out about something. The next 2 maybe should be combined, but I wrote scrolling, so like scrolling social media. I think that's a big one for me. I don't think this is just like a young parents thing, but I think my husband and I, we both find ourselves, we'll even be like in the middle of a conversation and someone's like taking too long to respond or dealing with one of the kids or something, and the other will just like start scrolling. And we're not like trying to avoid each other. We're not like necessarily meaning to do it even. It's just like a habit at this point. And so I think that's a big one. I think that's a big one probably for a lot of people, but scrolling. And then I also wrote down here YouTube separate, because most of the time when I'm on YouTube, I do like YouTube. It's one of like my main forms of entertainment. Most of the time when I'm on there, it is because I specifically sought out like someone that I follow, that I like, and I saw they posted a new video and I want to go watch it. I actually know one of my favorite YouTubers posted a video earlier tonight that I still want to watch before I fall asleep tonight. So this is going to be my last video and my last chapter that I read tonight, because I want to do something fun before I fall asleep. So YouTube in and of itself is not an avoidance strategy for me. Like, It's also something that brings me like joy and entertainment. But when I'm really stressed, I will sometimes go to YouTube with no purpose, and I will just randomly click on videos, and I'll just go down a weird rabbit hole just for funsies to avoid life. That kind of YouTubing, I think I should try to cut out. Similarly, this is a habit I've kind of cut back on in 2025, but reading. And again, there's a caveat here because I think reading can be productive. I obviously like what I'm reading right now, or I wouldn't be making this video. But last year I downloaded like a reading app, like a online reading thing. You guys, I would like go to bed at 2 a.m. because I was reading something that I needed to keep reading, I guess. I don't know. It was not good for my sleep. It was 100% avoidance. And it would spill into parts of my day I didn't want it to spill into. So for example, like this time at night, the kids are asleep, my husband's busy doing something else. Okay, yeah, read a book, great. But then I would read it way too late into the evening, first of all. But then in the morning when I should be like cleaning the house or playing with my children, I would also be like sneaking in a chapter or two. And I did not like that. I deleted the app. The last one I wrote down is the one that I think could be seen as productive, but isn't always. So I wrote down house projects / unnecessary cleaning. One thing, when my first son was maybe like 6 months old or so, I realized that my mental health was tied very closely to productivity and how productive I felt like I was each day. So if I had a really productive day, I would feel really good by the end of the day, by the time I was making dinner and sitting down to eat with my family. And conversely, if I had a day where I didn't get a lot done, those were the nights when I was just like, I don't feel good. I'm gonna go to bed early. I'm gonna scroll, watch YouTube, read a book, whatever. I don't want to be involved with other humans right now. And during that time frame, I really took on quite a few house projects / established this routine for like deep cleaning that I still use a modified version of today. And like, don't get me wrong, I do not have the cleanest house. I'm not like OCD about cleaning my house or anything like that. I have toddlers. My expectations are low in the cleanliness department. But like sometimes I prioritize cleaning that is just not necessary. Like if it's laundry or dishes, like yeah, of course, those things need to happen on a regular basis. But if we're having a really stressful or busy week, it's okay if I don't, vacuum the basement. Like no one is going to notice whether I've vacuumed the basement or not. So I think sometimes I put those things on my to-do list just to feel productive because I tie that to my mental health. And I don't know quite where this fits in terms of like avoidance, but I want to unpack that a little more, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I've rambled on quite a bit with this. Let's get to the next part of it. Okay, so then the next part of this practice is once you've created as comprehensive a list as possible, look carefully at each item. One by one, pick a behavior and put it at the top of a fresh page and say, "Hi, I see you. Do you want to talk to me about why you're here? How are you helping me? I am ready to listen." So basically, she explains this in deeper detail, but she wants us to take a moment for this honest dialogue between us and our avoidance strategies. She uses her running as an example, which I thought was really interesting because most people could think of running as a really healthy habit and not have anything bad to say about it, but of course, if you're avoiding conversation with your spouse or, doing something that you need to get done for work, like that's not the best thing. Okay, so I'm going to take time to do this. I'm probably not going to go into much depth about them after the fact since I've already kind of explained what I was thinking. But I do want to think a little deeper on this, so I'll fast forward again. Okay, so I think I'm done reflecting on this chapter 4 work. Before I talk a little about the story at the end of chapter 4, I wanted to touch on habits. Obviously, some of these avoidance tactics could also be classified as habits, or even bad habits, some of them, like scrolling on your phone. And I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I read Atomic Habits by James Clear, I think is the author's name. And so that section where she was talking about some of these habits and kind of being really cognizant of things that we do, it started to remind me of his work a little bit. And I loved that book. And I tried to implement a few of the concepts from that book into my own life. And so I'll be curious to see moving forward if we get more into any sort of habit work. I'm not sure if any of that is coming. I love a good system and a good routine. So I am hopeful that that will be part of this. Okay, so the story at the end of chapter 4 is about a woman from the United States. She's having all sorts of different symptoms. And this story struck a chord because she, at the start of her symptoms, was a young mom. And now she's symptom-free. She has 2 teenagers. And she had those symptoms for 13 years. And I won't ruin the entire story for you. I want you to get to read it yourself. But my main takeaway from that story was basically like, thank God I'm doing this work now. My kids are still very little. I want to enjoy my time with them as much as I can. And, obviously I feel like I'm trying to enjoy my time with them right now. I'm trying to be as present with them as I can be. It just feels like some days my body gets in the way of that. And I really, really hope that we can get past this quickly and we can start enjoying that extra time with the kids again. I feel like we're finally getting into the work now, which obviously we're on to part 2 of the book, and work is starting to happen. So I'm very curious kind of what comes next. Again, I haven't really read ahead. I only know a few things about this process beyond what I've read so far, and that's really just like some very random stuff I've come across in deciding whether or not I wanted to buy this book on the Amazon listing page. Yeah, I'm really excited moving forward. I will continue to bring you along with me, and hopefully we can get rid of this chronic pain. See you soon. Bye.